Yo, it's X and it's What's Out. What's going on, everybody? We got my boy Corey. What's going on with you, Corey?
Doing well, doing well.
And we got one of my guys. I'm not gonna call him my mentee. I'll call him the little homie, I guess. Jalen B. How you doing, my brother?
Good in here.
So Jalen, man, so glad to have him on the podcast. We're gonna talk a little bit about rowing. This could kind of be a rowing podcast. This could be rivaled with rowing in color. The three of us, people of color, been in the rowing space. Not only that, though, we all from Cleveland. We got a lot of similarities. My boy Jalen he's got a lot of things. This dude is a crazy designer. He's a crazy shoe collector, phone collector. This man is one of a kind. Jalen, man, how you been, bro?
I've been good. We just wrapped up like the spring season, and that was like the first like huge like rowing like roll I took, but ready for like the spring.
Let's go. So yeah, we'll talk about how the season went. What is he learning right now as a coach? What has he learned just being around the sport for some years now? And really talk about his design, man. His designs, ever since I met the kid, it's always been amazing. He's got that touch. I mean, he will spend, $1,200 on some shoes though, but hey, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, let's talk about like how you grew up. Like, where did you grow up? How would you explain like what type of kid were you growing up? That type of deal.
So I grew up on the east side of Cleveland, inner city. Type of kid I was not like the athletic type. I knew like I could run because like people in my neighborhood had dogs and stuff, and I'm not an animal person. So like, a dog run at me, I'm gonna like take flight real quick. So like I wasn't like into none of that. My siblings, they all do sports, they like sports, but then it was like just me. I was like that black sheep. Like I'm not doing none of that. And so once I like took that like jump over to like the school of one with at the Foundry, I was like, I'm not doing this at all. Like I don't want to do it. I'm only here to just graduate. And then I got on the water, and then we like saw it, and I'm like, oh, let me like get us a try. But like still like kind of like pushed back because like I'm not comfortable doing this at all. Cause like now thinking about it, I think it was more so like fear over it because it was not a diverse sport versus
Yeah.
like all like these inner city schools. I see myself everywhere. Like coming in here, I'm like, oh, I probably see one black person. So
No, I definitely get that. And I can attest the pushback was real when you first get in the boat. I was in there like you had already been in the boat before by the time I got to the Foundry for a bit. But we did this like I remember we did this media thing where like the news was there and then we got in a boat and stuff. And we had a
yeah,
blast, and I'm trying to like show you, and you're like, yeah, whatever, X, like I don't fuck with this, you like, I don't care. And I'm like, no, dude, like you're not enjoying this just a little bit, like at all. And I'm as much as I call you a mentor, as much as I call myself a mentor, I just was poking you. I was just like, yo, what'd you think about the sport? What'd you think about the sport? And you like, get away from me, bro. You would call me, you would just be dogging me, man. You were bullying me. I remember one of the funniest things over the summer was you would say, X, I'm about to go home and go get my dog, and we gonna wait outside for you. I would be shaking in my office, like I'm like, oh
and the
no, oh
funny thing
no.
is, I never had a dog, and you believed it every single time.
Because I'm terrified of dogs. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm gonna get my big dog, and it's gonna be. And I was like, dude, how am I gonna get to the rapid like before the before the dog gets to me? So what made you think that, okay, yes, this is not a diverse sport, especially in our region alone, right? But what got you more comfortable? Was it just time on water?
I say time on water, and then like also like pushing myself. Like this is something different, and I know it's a different opportunity that can open up different doors. Because in reality, I think if I like would have spent more time doing it, or actually like put like time aside, like oh let's like learn this instead of like all right in school I have to take this for a grade. I think now like I think like a switch has like clicked because I'm like full time here at the Foundry now and working with more well like we're targeting more inner city kids, so like I can see myself in most of these kids in these schools and gym classes and bringing them over to the Foundry and like showing them like oh like this is what you can be doing. but also like letting them know that, like this is not a diverse sport. So like you will stick out, but like it's going to always be in a good way because I think, and like the rowing community now, I think um some people might like see African Americans in this sport as like intimidated because in most sports, when African Americans like touch those sports, they do really, really well in it. And so actually like going through with it, but also like telling myself like, all right, Jay, this is what you're gonna do. This is how you're gonna do it. This is like the steps that I can actually do. But like also like trying to like continue this and not like let other people like dictate on what I say or what
Yeah,
I
without
do.
a doubt.
Like because I think like sometimes like even over like the fall season, I know for a fact now of seeing like other like high school teams like practice on the river. I know I'm the only African American coach in the class, and so part of me was like, oh, like this is like it's a wake up call. Like, oh yeah, like I need to like be on point, but also like I'm still young, so like I know I'm gonna make some mistakes and I need to learn from those. But also when there's like other coaches on the water that like think that like can like big body their way over me is not gonna happen because like 9 times out of 10, I'm probably much louder than you. I can be very aggressive and I know I'm very straightforward. So if you
Yeah,
say something to my kids, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna say something back to you. So
I definitely get that. And I think one thing that I'll touch on it too is like when you see the opportunity that comes with the sport, I was really hesitant at first, but then once I saw the opportunity, I think travel was a big thing for me. I didn't travel too crazy, but like I traveled at some time, but like this sport can get you anywhere. This sport can take you across the ocean. This sport can take you anywhere. So when you see the opportunity that comes with it, when you give somebody the opportunity to be in the sport, to just an opening to it, so like you'll work with schools, and I work with schools down here in Dallas, right? Students who would never be on this, would never even think about rowing, when they see it and they see the opportunity, it's like, damn, like this is amazing. I can do so many things, and you can still be your individual like self in the sport. And that's kind of what I did in the sport. The way I made it comfortable for me, and I don't know, Corey, you can attest to, I just was, I was myself. And I was like, if people don't rock with me, fuck it. If people do rock with me, then I'm grateful. And I will, then I'm gonna, give that respect as well. And even, yeah, coaching on the Cuyahoga, when we had to do the singles, what we did over the quarantine, where we were going down to the singles, and I was, running my little group in the back, and some other team was coming by and they were trying to be disrespectful. Had to hold it down. It's like, look, hey, you really had to hold it down, because it's like you're not about to come
yeah.
at me left, right?
And also, one thing I gotta say, when you're mentioning traveling, like most of my traveling still to this day is through my regattas that I went to and other rowing opportunities. Like,
Yeah. So, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying there, Jen. So, let's talk about what made you decide I'm gonna try out coaching. I think coaching would be, I think coaching would be in my future.
um dang. I think it was started from I think when we was in high school, like learning when they was like telling us like what coxes and stuff is. I'm like, oh, that's basically a coach. So like they don't have to do the workout. So I'm like, all right, I want to be a cox in the end. Like let me do that. And like I like kind of like took over some of that because I already like I knew most of like the people that like I came down here with for school. And so like I knew that like if I didn't want to do something, I can have them do it.
You were
Or
the
if I didn't
ringleader.
want to
You were
do
the
it at
boss.
all, if I didn't want to do it at all, I can have that entire like class say no. And so I think like right out of like COVID, Alyssa like sent me like a text and she was just saying that she's interested in like, am I interested in being a coach? And I was like, okay, I don't think I have these qualities because like outside of like work and everything, I'm an introvert. So like I don't like being around a lot of people or like talking a lot. So I'm like, okay, let me just give this a try. And I was like, all right, I like can get used to it. I think my first day like in practice, I was like, oh shit, like what am I getting myself into? Like I'm probably not going to do this. And I remember like going up to Amber and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And she was like, yes, you can because you've done this in high school plenty of times before. So you're just teaching other kids. And like back to what you said, like basically like putting your own stamp onto it and like working your own way in it. Mine was just like, I know I like shoes, I like clothes, and I like I like driving fast or something like that. So I know like I can get like more attention from like kids if like, oh, if I like wore these shoes or I wore a different pair of shoes every practice, they're gonna like see it or like ask questions about it. So like finding like my way into it, but also like I think it was more so I want to say Alyssa and Amber that like pushed it because if I don't want to say like if they didn't push it, I probably wouldn't be here right now because of like me being an introvert, like versus now where I think I'm one of the loudest coaches here, and that is
And
like
you know,
really
we got to give out a special shout out to them. They were always on you, bro. Even when you were in school, they were like, "Come on,
yeah.
Jalen. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, you goofing. You know what I'm saying? They were always on you and always saw potential in you. So I'm grateful and I'm glad that they were the avenue to be like, yo, man, you could do this because I know you would ask me about things here and there, and I'd be like, yeah, dude, you got this. Because you were as you mentioned it, you were like a ringleader for your group. They did whatever you did. We'll do whatever you said we were doing today. The group would just be like, oh yeah, okay, we do what Jalen do.
And
We
it's
do whatever
crazy
you
because
do.
me and Amber, we never got along. I think the first time she like had us do a 2K, I was like, I'm not doing this. And I called an Uber and like left right in front of her. And the entire group did that. And and it like just clicked. I'm like, wait, Amber's like really like, she like, I don't know. But like, yeah, most of it
Yeah,
I
you
have
guys are
to
both like pit bulls. Like that's what it is. And like Amber probably didn't even take it like she didn't even get slighted. Probably she was just like, okay, this kid, I gotta like deal with this kid. And like it's great.
yeah.
It's so good to see that now. It's like it's cool. So yeah, I think you needed that though. You are a stubborn dude. I'm not gonna lie.
It is. I can't see that because the way I coach now, I'm very straightforward and I'm just not gonna like have you have your own way. And so
Yeah,
like there might be kids that come in, especially like during field trips. It be always like that one kid that's like, oh, look, let me
I'm not
test you.
doing this. Yeah,
And for like the most part, when a field trip come in, I'm like real quiet to myself. I'm like, I explain what we're gonna do, and that's it. Versus
yeah.
like during a team practice and like they're like acting out or something. It's like, all right, I can get you in shape quick. So
I feel that. I feel that. So my question to you is, do you think that since you weren't the athletic kid in your family, you weren't really on the sports, that it was easier for you to think about getting into rowing or sailing? We could talk a little about sailing too, because I think you really like and you enjoy that aspect. I've only had limited experience with it. No? Okay, sorry. But let's talk about that. Like, do you think because you were that like black sheep who wasn't really into like all the other sports, the main sports, that could lead you to rowing? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I think when I like first introduced them to it, they was like, "No, you're not doing this at all." Just because it's like a water sport, and traditionally, like in African American like households, most people don't know how to swim, and so it was unique because like I love the water, I know how to swim, but like when it comes to like the lake or the river, they like, "No, you cannot swim in that." Versus like now, like I can flip in there and be perfectly fine. Um, I
Right.
think when they like actually came down here to see it, I think my grandmother, I always remember that she was like, "No, you're not doing this at all." But it was like something that was different, and I was like, "Okay, I want to try this. I want to like see what it's about." And so I like convinced my grandfather, and he was like, "Let's try this. Do it." Because like if I don't do sports, I don't like none like that. I was always like that video game kid. I would stay in the room, play video games. If like a basketball, football game was on, I'm not around at all. Like versus like now where like I recently like just got comfortable like telling people like, oh, this is what I do. And like taking it to like social media and like telling people like, oh, I like this and I like this so much that like I switched my major over to this. And so like actually like seeing that like if I stick with this, I know it can open up more doors and making myself more diverse in more areas in my life where I'm not diverse at.
Exactly. Just even so seeing this opportunity and being a part of it and seeing what it takes to just jump into it and what can come out of it, you can jump into other things and see where that's
Yeah.
gonna bring you. Jump into this thing and see where so that yeah, without a doubt. I know for me, my family, they were really keen on like, football, basketball. My dad is a football player, blah, blah, blah. All my cousins basketball players. So when they heard, oh, Xavier's trying out rowing, they're like, oh well. And then, after a while, they start to understand the sport. I like start sending them videos or they see it. they might see me practice on a picture or something. They're like, oh no, like this is legit, this is really cool. And then they open up to it where they probably would have never even, looked that way.
Yeah.
So how's it going? How was your spring season? How was your fall season just recently?
So last spring season, I think I like stepped away just because like I'm still in school.
Yeah.
This fall season, all like the coaching staff was new, and I like started working with some kids like throughout the summer. So it was like, all right, I know what I'm about to do. And then I like got thrown with, okay, you're gonna work with middle school, and I was like, whoa, because I'm like used to working with high school because like I don't even have to yell at them, and they know what just to do.
They get the work in.
And yeah, so like getting like over to like middle school, I'm like, okay, I do not like this. I don't want to do this. And it just goes back to like sometimes like I will like just like summarize like a situation and just like try to dip out of it quick. But like in that situation, I couldn't because it was another coach that it was his first year coaching also. And I did not like feel comfortable just leaving him because I was like, I made it very clear. I was like, I want to stay with varsity. That's all. But working with those middle schoolers, I think that was like the okay for me to be like, this is what I want to do long term. Because like actually like seeing those middle schoolers like come in from the first day not knowing nothing at all to like up until now racing. And I always like tell this story whenever I'm like talking about middle schoolers. It's this one like kid that came in through our outreach program. He's a sixth grader. He stayed like right around. He go to school in the same area as me where I live, and he like worked with us the entire summer. So me and another coach was just like teaching him how to row, how to cox, all of that. So then he like joined the team. Mind you, he's a shorter kid, but he's an African American kid. So I was like, oh, like if this is something he want to do, I'm like going to be behind him 110%. And he was in middle school, so I'm like, all right, I get to work with him a little bit more. And so like working with him a little bit more and like seeing like how the team is like just like welcome him in, because I think like the first time learning to row situations, it was just like 3 kids. And so like he didn't really get like that team like thing. So like trying to like sell a kid on, oh, this rowing team is fun. This is like harder than like most sports. It's like, okay, it's only 2 kids. But then he like
Seeing it with
started.
the full group, and then everybody, it's not necessarily everybody clicky, but everybody got their own group, everybody can have fun, and then they all come together. That's like the coolest thing,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
And he like the team like welcomed him. It was 2 kids like in particular that are really advanced. And so he started coming to our like competitive camps throughout the afternoon. That was like, I think his first day, he like went straight to them, like gravitated straight toward him. And they like took him right under his wing. And like it's funny now because like he's short enough to be a coxswain. So it made sense. And so they was like, okay, we can teach you how to be a coxswain. So he was like, they started teaching him how to cox. And then another coach that was here for the summer, that's a collegiate coxswain, like took him under her wing. And that fall season, I think the first race he like did, he was coxing it. His first like ever race, he like it was a cox quad, and he coxed it into like second place. And I like
Nice.
flipped out that in like entire time. And then like back into like we came back, and I think like 2 weeks later, it was like he's way too advanced. Like he's only sixth grade, but he's too advanced. So we like pushed him over to high school, and it's like mind blowing to me. Like whoa, like to know that like you're the foundation of like this kid's like actual rowing like career, especially a kid in color. That's like you got to put some respect on that because like that's crazy to me. I don't know. I don't know how to like explain it. Because like a black coach.
No, I mean, you're explaining it really well. It's reach one,
Yeah.
teach one. The dude is like grew up right down the street. Now you've had your experience, and now he's building off of your foundation that you just said, hey, come try it out. And he probably saw you and was like, yo, I'm definitely gonna try this out. I'm a little more receiving of trying this out. And now he's excelling. So that's great. Yeah. I got a question. I mean, I've got a lot of experience in middle school. I know Corey has. Corey's got a lot of experience with middle school. Corey coaches middle school in Columbus.
On it right now too.
The question I have for both of you guys, I guess, is I'm learning so much patience from coaching middle school. You guys agree?
Oh yeah.
I think I was never the most patient person. I think I was really hot-headed at times. Freaking coaching middle school. What you guys think?
Well, I mean, one thing for me is like I've had a little bit of experience with dealing with that patience before. I mean, like I've babysat. We had this group in high school called SCORE, where we go to younger, like middle school, sixth grade students and talk to them about stuff. But so I already knew what I had to deal with, like going in, but like you said, like you got to do a lot of patience. Um, and the kids are just firing off in 500 different directions. Everything you say, they got something to say back, and you really gotta be locked in 100% of the time. You can't let them, because they'll be hunting for you to slip up. They'll want you to slip up, and you just gotta like just keep them together at all times. I'm glad that I got this challenge, because like if it's like learning how to drive snow.
I gotta agree with like most of the things Corey just said. The patience that it comes with, I was like, what did I sign up for? Because like versus like high school me, I was very hot-headed. I was like tempered. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And then like I went straight into varsity. I'm like, okay, just do this, do this, do this, and that. Then come into like this fall season where like our middle school program like outweighed our entire like high school team. So it was like two of us. It was like 30 something middle schoolers. Some of them knew how to row, some of them didn't. And then like there was times for us to like get out on the water. And I was like, are you like serious? And we had like taken out an October with some middle schoolers that's like up to my waist. I'm like, oh my God, please do not drop this boat. Do not drop this boat. And I was just like, why am I doing this? Like, I don't need to be doing this right now. It's like a headache because it's like some of them, I'll give them like, you get them an inch, they're gonna take like 5 miles. So it's like you constantly got to be on your toes with them because we ran into an issue where like we didn't have enough coxswains. So like every time like we came to practice, we got like flooded with middle schoolers like up to our neck asking, "Can I cox today? Can I cox today?" I'm like, "No, you cannot cox today." Or like they catch the
that
attitude.
is
They catch like
that's
the
that's
power.
one.
And there was this one kid. I think I had to like assign groups, and like I'll start picking out the kids that like that was like getting like learning how to row, but like still like getting it. It was clicking. And I had this one kid. He came up to me. He was like, "Some, you don't like me, do you?" I was like, "What?" He was like, "You must don't like me because you didn't pick me." I was like, "That's not true at all." And he like grown to be like one of like the kids are like he is always that one kid that asks questions on top of questions on top of questions on top of questions. And he liked to have conversations like on the dot. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? And
You
then
need to
sometimes
know.
it's just
Yeah.
like when I get out on the water and there's like sometimes there might not be like a good coxswain. I'm like, all right, this rule now, no talking. Heads in the boat, that's it. And like I'll come up to you on the launch, they like have to ask like 20 more questions. And it's just like, whoa. So like developing those like patience, because I guess like younger me, I always like to like babysit, basically, especially newborns. So like
Yeah.
I know
Same.
I had the patience.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like a different level. And
And
always
I
like
think
remaining calm.
so. I babysat like all my like life too, and I've been in interactions where I had to deal with kids in like a school setting. That never was different. I think on this level though, it's like you really dealing with the kids uncensored. Like you are dealing with them like at their like most. They're like super excited. They're with people that they don't usually hang out with all the time, like at
Yeah, right
school.
after.
It's not really. It is school related, but it's not too school related.
Especially a
Where
club team.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, now you got kids doing this, that, and other thing, and you're like, we gotta hone it all in and bring it all together. That's what I mean. I understand that the patience, but that is a whole nother level to bring that together. It takes a special person. And once again, I mean, you being the ringleader of your group, the way you manage your group, I can see it correlating to managing. You know what I'm saying?
And it's so funny because like Jalen, I feel like you're sharing like the same experiences that I'm having, man. Like having like kids talking about cops and all that. But like look at like I just remember coming to practice some days and I'm just like sometimes just like thinking in my head like, God, they are so small. Like, I never
Yeah.
forget like how like and how they like they're so energized and they're saying the craziest things. And I'm just like sitting there like, dang, like I really was that. Like I can't lie to myself. I was that in middle school, just like how many years ago. But oh my gosh, but it's a trip, man. I do love it at the same
And I
time.
get the experience of like the transition of middle school to varsity. So that's like where I coach. So I coach the kids, like getting them to become varsity. So I got to teach them accountability. I got to teach them like these fundamental things, but they're still on the like, they still act like middle schoolers. They still are middle schoolers. So I got to keep that in mind. So I can't be too strict where with the high schoolers, it's just so it's easy. It's like
Yeah,
this
it's
the
so
workout.
straightforward.
Yeah,
It's like,
this the
okay, this
workout.
You
is
This
the
just
workout to
workout.
be
yell at them.
done.
That's all you have to do.
And you just gotta say, let's go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Every here and there. The high school kids, they got it like by the time they're in high school and at varsity, they already got it in. They know what it takes. They know the expectation. But getting them to that, that's the hardest part. That's the hardest, but it's fun. I enjoy it.
It was like the hardest and like the worst part because it was me and then it was Coach Christian. I'm not sure if you met him. And we obviously got two different coaching styles. Me, I'm very straightforward. I'm not gonna talk to you a lot. It's time to get on the water. We're gonna go.
Tough
Versus
cop,
like with
bad
Christian,
cop, good cop. Is that
exactly. It is exactly like that. I'm always the bad cop. Um, I just don't feel like I'm not gonna have a conversation with you on the water right now. We're gonna do the workout and then we can talk after. And sometimes we're like, it'll be like good cop, bad cop, but like also like when me and Christian when we coach, it's like a good tag team. So it's like 1 minute I'll be talking, then he'll take over. And sometimes like the kids he'll like just start to talk. Some kids probably would not like try to like listen at all. And then you have me to come out just screaming like, all right, let's listen up. If not, okay, we're gonna do a 5 minute steady state with some power strokes in it. And then that's when you're getting like dead silent. And so like whenever I like when Christian's talking, they know like sometimes like they can like move around, walk and stuff like that. When I'm talking, it's more like, oh, okay.
we gotta listen.
Yeah.
Hey, you got any nicknames? Coach JB, like what they call anything? What they call you?
I think a couple of them call me Coach J,
Okay.
and some of them just call me by my first name. I in the beginning I was like, okay, Coach Baldwin, like, do I like that? I don't want to be called that. Like, don't call me that. And
I
that's
don't
pretty
like that
much
when my athletes do that. Coach Anaton, how are you doing today?
it.
You get away from me.
So, coming from your first couple of years of coaching, what did you like have to adapt and like figure out like what you had to change to help out these rowers? Because I know for me, I had to figure out like I couldn't just tell them one thing and expect them to do one thing. I had to experiment, and another thing is like when you're dealing with 30, 20 kids, like some kids are going to need different type of tactics than other kids, and you got to like you have to manage all their personalities, all their interests, all their like habits. What were some things that you had to adapt with?
I had to adapt with, I think again, like the biggest part is diversity. Like coming into a team where like I know I'm probably gonna be like the only like black person or the black like coach in charge and not being too technical. Always like trying to like make stuff like straightforward and try to make it easy as possible, then like work my way down. Cause I feel like in most situations, I feel like I can either like tell you a lot and expect you to like get everything when I say it, or like basically slim it all the way down to like arms only strokes. All right, phase in half slot. And I think just like transitioning over when I first started, it was like I am like so close in age with like the rest of these high schoolers. And
Right.
like me being a high school is like if I'm the same age as you or near that like gap, I'm not about to respect you because I'm
Right.
yeah, you like a brother or a sister to me. So you don't got that authority. But also like taking like the step further and be like, okay, if it's a kid that like don't know what's going on at all, or probably don't want to like row at all right, let's explore like this option of coxing. And I think I have ran with that for like most of my students that came in this fall time. They just was not interested in rowing, or they like physically was just not into it. So I'm like, all right. And like it was weird because the kids that like didn't want to row, they had that perfect attitude to cox too. They always wanted to tell other kids what to do. And so like actually like trying to like not necessarily like cater to them, but like also like let them know like this is not like a regular sport. This is not like a basketball, football. where you have to like basically beg your coach to like have it this way. If there's something uncomfortable about a situation, come talk to me, and more than likely, you're gonna have your way with it because I want you to have a good experience, but also like this is not like a cheap sport either.
Exactly. You cannot waste your time with rowing. If you want to be in it, you're in it, and we'll help you. We'll help you adjust to make it more comfortable. We really want to see everybody just succeed and reach their apex. So definitely understand that. I got a question for you now. You used to be heavily interior design guy. I used to show your designs. You got your own page designed by design.Jalen B, right? Is that right? Am I off? Am I right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's designed. So I don't know. It's something like that.
Hey, we'll find it, and we'll put it in the description below. But let's talk about it, man. I used to love seeing your designs back in like the summer 2018, all that. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what got you into that? Were you always into that? Like, when did that start for you?
I want to say it started like probably in sixth grade.
Okay.
Um, I think I always had like a creative like mindset. So I always wanted to like do something to like put my own stamp onto something. And so I think I came across a website where like you can design a room or something. And I was like, oh, I like this. And then I like came across other like TV shows where people are like breaking down like abandoned houses and making like these like I don't know, like gorgeous like houses out of like just something that's abandoned. And so like fast forward into like high school, I was like, oh, this is something I probably want to take serious. And so I like started like paying for like different like sites that like do like CAD or 3D rendering. And I thought like this was something I was gonna like do like for the rest of my life because it was like something like I was good at. But it came with the obstacle of like math. And I don't like math at all. And so like
Yeah.
I knew if I went to college with this, I have to like face math. And part of me was like, all right, let me just get this over with. And when I like started coaching and I made like that transition over to like youth development, I felt like I like abandoned that like thing. But I necessarily didn't abandon it. I like put it on like that back burner. So like versus like now where like I see myself in this like coaching role and want to do this like long term, I can like design whatever I want. And so like actually like take into like considerations like what the foundry looks like and like what it looks like for me. Or if I like go off and design my own boathouse, which like I'm in the process of doing, but like it's also still like mind blowing where it's like I took off on this like interior design like road, and then I like did a complete U-turn and did youth development, thinking that like interior design is like way behind me. I'm not gonna ever touch it again. Versus like now where I'm like knee deep in it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you find this niche, you get into youth development. I got into youth development, but I still go for the hobbies that I loved in the beginning, right? These are still things, these are still avenues, but I'm learning how to apply, how I'm building teams, how I'm, getting people together, how I'm managing personalities, and just bringing together units of like diverse people from different backgrounds, all this different things, bringing them in together. And now mentally for me, it's easy as a creative to go, okay, well, this is how I need to go apply this to making content. Or I love architecture. This is how I can apply it to trying to do some, designs on that. I'm not on your level, or excuse me, sir. You know what I'm saying? I'm not on your level. But that's where I kind of I get what you're saying in that. And just that whole idea of finding an opportunity, diving into it, and understanding what you could get from the opportunity, and then keep going into what you've always loved. So I'm glad that you found the mixture of like them both together, right? Would you say?
Yeah, I think I found like a good mixture of it because before, like when I first started coaching, I'm like, okay, interior design is like done. And then actually like sitting down and thinking of like, oh, like this like career path that I just chose, it can be something long term. So like if I want to like do like a long term thing, A, I know it sticks out. B, I know that like it stick out in a good way in my opinion. And C, I know I'm gonna put a stamp on it. And what that stamp is, I'm gonna have my own boathouse and it's going to be like built on the foundation that like how I was like brought up, but also like what I'm learning now. And so it's crazy because like when I like did an Instagram post basically like saying like, oh, like this is like what I do. This is like something I'm passionate about. A lot of people like asked about it, and I think it took like a right turn, but I was not prepared for it. Or like a bunch of people was like more like reaching out, like, oh, like let's help you build this team. Let's help you build this boathouse. I'm only 20. I'm not capable of doing that right now.
Hey,
So
age
actually,
is
like,
only but a number in certain aspects. In certain aspects, I had to say that. But dude,
I
hey,
don't see it happening for I want to say at least my like late 20s.
hey, well, like let's look at it like this. You still gotta build. Coaching is you're gonna need to learn how to be a decent coach to have your own boathouse and manage your own boathouse. You already know the operations of the foundry pretty down pat. I mean, for years now, you've seen it from every angle you possibly could see it from, right? So
Yeah,
you got to work towards it, obviously, but on the design side and all that side, it's great that you back into it. The Foundry has amazing design layout for it being such an old, I think it used to just be a storage room for like the Cleveland Museum of Art. And now it's
yeah,
this huge rowing, freaking hub with the CrossFit gym and all that. Like it's amazing. I love my time at the Foundry. So I got to show love to the Foundry. I want to ask you, let's talk about community outreach though. So how are you guys going to schools? How are you guys attacking schools? Are they coming in the tank? Are they going out on water? Or what are they doing? Like, how do you do this?
yeah. So I, as of March of this year, I was brought on full time as an outreach coordinator. So the Foundry got grant funding for Cuyahoga County. So any like family that's below, I think above the 200% property line, we can offer them well, we can offer their kids opportunities to join the rowing team at no cost. So we partner with CMSD, we partner with different school districts. So we come in and we do gym classes. And so it's like a step down unit. So like we come in, we either do like a presentation or like we do like a gym class. And then from
Like
there,
gym takeover in Dallas.
yeah, so
Is
like
that
we
what y'all
take
call
like
it?
ergs and stuff
Okay.
there, and then and like in hopes of like that school and like trying to do a field trip. And so like they come do a field trip and they get the like mixture of both worlds. So they get like a rowing part, and then like we have these sailing simulators, and it's just like a 3D, not 3D, but like it's an actual like simulator. It's like the tank house. And so where I come in as like I'm the rowing coach of like the Rosell Dream like program. And so I do either like the erg workouts and I do like the tank workouts. And so we can like go from our funding is available for 6 to 12th graders. And so like that makes it also like really unique because like this grant is just for like those inner city kids that don't know about the sport, but also come take a field trip and I can give you like a taste of what rowing is and you could
So
potentially.
I was gonna ask, so is there a little more than just a taste? So like if you go 6 through 12, then like can we make a full boat out of that? Like how idea wise is that kind of the idea? Is that the concept to get to or no?
The concept is to basically like have an have this club team CFJ and have most of these inner city kids that never knew about rowing or don't know like they're good at it join that team and potentially open up doors for them to like go to college
College
or
and
they
stuff,
feel like
yeah.
they see themselves in college or like even going to college but like getting like rowing scholarships or like just like trying something new. I think that's like the biggest thing because like sometimes like I won't even push you to row. I just want you to try it because I did the same thing where I was like, oh, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this. This is like a white sport whatsoever. And look where I ended up, right back in that same spot, doing complete like 360. And some of them like they fall in love with it, but also like it comes with the barrier of the water. And
Yeah.
so like we implemented like the way where we have like the SUPs and we take them out like a boat on a road. And so like I try to do that. I try to let me take a step back. I get them on like a coach boat. And so I put them on life jackets and like we just go up and down the river, trying to get comfortable with it. And then I put you on a sub and I take you out, boat on a rope. And so like from there, if you like fall in love with it, okay, you need to be on the team because there's a lot of kids that I've like interacted with that is really good at it, but like they don't want to do the sport at all. And it's just like, okay, let me encourage you a little bit more. And so like tell them like, all right, come shout at this practice. After you see a bunch of kids do this, it's eventually something that you're going to do.
And look, I'm about to grab that from you now. I'm sorry. I'm about to grab. I'm gonna be taking the kids out on the water. I feel like that. I'd never thought about that. Taking them out on the coaches launch and having them check it out. But here's the thing we're trying to do in Dallas. We're over the summer, and I want to know if you guys do anything like that. We're trying to implement like a swimming lesson, like swimming lessons for the summer.
But we can take that a little bit further.
Yeah.
The Foundry have like partnership with the YMCA. So
Right.
if you
So do we.
say, like, so if a kid like come in and they don't have like no type of like swim lessons at all, again, that grant can pay for it. So you can get swim lessons like right downtown. And that was like the same thing we did, like the swim test and all of that, they get those. But I think we're trying to implement that a little bit more by like trying to like get more kids that's like interested or like they think they want to do it.
Yeah.
Because essentially, like if you stay the course and this is something you want to do, look, you're gonna get swim lessons. You're gonna get like the proper like gear that you need. And like your family won't come out of pocket for most of that either.
And dude, that's such a blessing because that's one of the biggest barriers for the sport. Is it's one of the most expensive sports. I mean, we always talk about the boats. We always talk about, but just overall, it's just expensive regattas, expensive everything is super expensive. So we talked about a little bit in the future, right? This boathouse is coming, regardless. Whether you think it's coming in 9 years, it might happen in 5. You might blink, it happens in 2. You have no idea, right? But you'll never know. Don't ever let the age dictate what you're trying to do, bro. Because I mean, there's 24-year-old billionaires who started companies out of nowhere, out of left field. You never know, man. So I'm a clown you on that for a little bit. I'm not being your mentor. I'm being that guy that just poking you. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I feel like it's a step down to it. I like essentially like right now I'm assistant coach. So in the next 2 years, I want to be a head coach. From that head coach experience, whether I stay with CFJ or not, that's when that boathouse like start to come into play. And I like now, like I want to like share it, like share the thoughts of it, because like I feel like, in my opinion, I always feel like that it's going to stick out. It's not going to be like a traditional like boathouse, or it's not going to be like a CRF where it's like not necessarily like a shack, but like just like a warehouse type. I want it to just be like a community center, but I also want it to like also like stick out and make it known that like this is a Black owned facility and it ain't going nowhere. So whether like I keep it here in Cleveland or like I take it down somewhere else, but like wherever it go, it's going to be a stamp.
Question: how would you explain the School of One to someone that has no idea what School of One was?
So School of One is another like school that's in Cleveland Metropolitan School District. So it's a public school, but it's an alternative route. So they're like placed in actual schools. I think it's like 8 sites, but they're also like sites like the Foundry where you can go to the Foundry, learn how to like row, sail, and do your schoolwork here. So for my experience, I started off at Collinwood. So I went to School of One at Collinwood. So I would basically go to school like normal days. And I think my schedule was like, I want to say like 9 to like 11 or something like that. And all your classes are online. You have like one teacher that's like assigned, and you just do all these, you just do your work on those. It was like a pilot for like COVID. So like all the classes was online. You can do the work at home. You can do it wherever. You just got to get it done. And I think they like just opened up another like facility that's more like attended for like LGBTQ plus. And I think it was mainly for like kids that like couldn't like get that transportation to school, or they like have different like issues of like family related that stopped them. So I think CMSD implemented that, and so far it like took off.
Well, hey man, you're a great product of the school. So shout out to School of One. Let's talk about so we talked about, right now you're assistant, you want to go for head. After that, then we go over to, boathouse manager, boathouse designer, boathouse extraordinaire, right? What other goals do you have in mind? Let's talk about like any other goals you have in mind, any shout outs, any of these things, any inspirations, things like that.
I think my next goal, Well, I think my big goal is to get more confident in the sport, more so or less. Cause like sometimes like I do have like those moments where I'm like, damn, like, I am like the only like African American in this like river. So it's like really not like nowhere I can like, oh, like let me go talk to this one because like they probably going through the same thing I'm going through. So being like more confident in it and be like, okay, I know this is an issue. I know this is only like for a time. It's only for like a small time period, but like you can do damage with or without another like person of color in it. I think another goal for me is to try. I think I want to go for like that head coach position, but like also like go into it head smart and not like think like, oh, I have this experience. I can like do this, do that. But also like being like, okay, this is like the role of a head coach. This what has to be done. This what needs to be done. And not like lose focus of like, oh, like I have this head coach title. So like I don't have to do that or I don't have to do this. But also like being confident in it to where like sometimes like you're gonna lose people during that process. And it's okay because like some people are only like here for a time period. So letting like it's like for example, like I had like friends that like did not like it at all. And so like they were like, oh, this is a white sport, whitewashed, all those like types of jokes. So it was like, okay, let me prove you wrong then. And so I think making myself stick out in that good way and having that confidence where like I don't care what nobody got to say. If you can say it through a megaphone, I want you to come across the street to the foundry and say it to my
Say it to
face.
my face.
Yeah. And also been like, I'm not gonna like throw myself under the bus or like put myself like in predicaments where like, oh, like you're trying to beat somebody, you're not. Like for me, like for example, like I coach in Jordans, Yeezys, I go in tracksuits. What? I'm not about to like change the way my appearance either. Because I think that was like another thing that I had to like get over. I was like, why am I don't look the same as these people. So should I like change the way I like do stuff? And that was like an instant like, Jalen, no, you're not. You're not doing none of this.
Right.
Because like I think I started off coaching, I had like an afro. And so like I knew like, okay. And then I like switched to twist. And it's like I really don't care what somebody gotta think because 9 times out of 10, I know I can make a training plan and put some kids in the boat, and I bet they can crush you and your team.
And I think just not limiting yourself is a really good thing. Like you gotta be out there. You know, that means that eyes are on you, man. And so that leads me
Yeah.
to a question like what's going through your head? What is like keeping you? You gotta be like, I need to do this, I need to do that, I can't do this, I can't do that in terms of coaching, being a role model. What are the things that are just constantly in your mind? Like I have to present myself this way. Like what are the go-tos?
I think it goes straight to like regattas. Um, when I like go to a regatta and like I'm like walking with the team, whatever, and I don't see another like African American coach, or there's like times on the water where kids are, where like my kids is like clearly like they're in the wrong, and we're trying to like work through that, and another coach like come like screaming down. I'm not gonna like yell across the river at you because I still got like my kids that's looking up to me. And so like making that example, like, okay, like you can like scream, holler, all of that. Now so I say I'm gonna look at you, I'm gonna laugh, and I'm gonna wave. Um, I think some of it, I think it goes back to the diversity that's not in the sport. I feel like if it was like a little bit more, or like that percentage was like a little bit higher, I think it wouldn't be such like a lot of pressure. But I feel like it's always going to be pressure. Well, I feel like it's always pressure on me when I'm out on the water and I know that like,
You represent that, bro.
yeah, I know like I am the only African American coach on the flats taking kids out on the water right now. And so sometimes I can get like in the head frames like, oh my God, I'm like representing for like all the African Americans that's like coaching somewhere else, and I don't want to put like a bad name or a bad rep on them. So like I'm not gonna like if I see someone that's on the water that's like that don't agree with me being on the water or coaching at all, I'm not gonna like be mad at you. Not so that it's in, I'm gonna try to like show out in front of you. So I'm like gonna have my kids like do focus files or something like that, and show them like, oh, I deserve to be in a sport more than you do.
And see, I'm gonna clown you real quick. I'm gonna clown you on this end, and it's just because it is. When we were Shaker was one of the only public schools that still has a rowing team. And when we started, I mean, you might look at the team now and like it's not diverse, but it was like Corey, myself, and like just a bunch of kids from a different walks of life. People who had never would have experienced the sport before were able to even step foot in these competitions, and we used to get murdered. I mean, the first Corey doesn't know this because Corey is a few years younger than me, like 2 years. But we used to go. My first 2 years of rowing was just all the other teams, St. Ed, St. Ignatius, destroying our teams. They had money, they had all the things. We were rowing in boats from the 90s, and we were just trying to make whatever we had the best possible. And we got our first bid at one point when I was a junior in nationals and all this, and everybody still was looking down on us. And obviously, I mean, for me, it was a different route too, being a person of color, but also just being not preppy, not from West Cleveland. I'm not roasting, I'm just saying it's a whole nother avenue. It was is a culture shock, but in another way, it was also low-key, fuck y'all. Not in no disrespectful way, but we're gonna have to prove to you guys we really are supposed to be here. And if you don't think we're supposed to be here, no, we do. So I was always a struggle on it. Corey, I don't know if you can attest, but
no,
I clown you on that, Jalen, because that's what we had to go through. And I'm it was a push, bro, and it was a struggle.
Because especially with St. Ignatius was the bay next to us. So just seeing their fleet of boats and all 70 kids coming up, and how they'll have I don't know 4 novice eights at a time. And I just remember looking at my team and just being you know what, we gotta compete with them. We're not gonna let them just win. We're just gonna let them win, right? And that was.
And they would throw shade. It would be little things you had to deal with, and you just had to kind of just take it, because you're okay, I'm not gonna show out. I'm not gonna be that type of person, because then they're gonna stereotype this. They're gonna have this whole narrative about us, doing this. So I go, okay, we're just gonna try to beat your ass on water then. You know what I'm saying? We're just gonna take it all out on the water. That was kind of the idea, and it was kind of a rock star kind of way. It was hey, fuck, we in this, we going for it. Whatever the outcome is, we always used to say, play the cards you're dealt, man. Hey, you may not have the best cards, but hey, play them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that made the competition so much better. That really raised the deal. Really.
Jalen, any shout outs to anybody, to anything? What are your goals in the future? You should just shout out whatever you need to do, man. This is your curtain call.
I would say Amber. I would say Alyssa. I would say it's gonna hurt when I say it too. It's gonna say School of One. I want to say the Foundry. And then the coworkers that I work with now, because some of them, I think they see when I'm pissed off, or when I'm just not in the mood, or they try to step in and be oh, Jalen, this is a route that you probably should do, or giving me different ideas. But oh, okay. Sometimes I think now I'm going through through this phase of I don't want to hear what nobody got to say. I feel I'm going to do this, and this is what I'm going to do. And they step in and oh no, Jalen, I understand, but you should do this. And sometimes I don't feel hearing those buts, but sometimes those buts is what I need to hear. What else? I think that's pretty much it. I think I'm surprised on what a sport can do to a person. I think that's what I'm still always gonna be in shock. I do this for a living, and this is something I'm trying to make last for a long time.
Well, that's wonderful. We're all in similar positions, all coaching, young kids, being people of color, and just Jalen, it's great to see the transition you've made from this hater of the sport to someone who really enjoys it. Shout out to you, brother. Hey, we're gonna stay in contact. I mean, obviously, just as being friends, but also we'd love to have you on the podcast. And if we make more videos and stuff like that, I'd love to have you on there. Jalen, man, thank you for being on the show. Corey, you got anything?
All I gotta say, I just want to repeat what I said. It's great to have you on, and it's crazy how just one choice of staying on the rowing team really brought to really all three of us. But
yeah.
But yo, it's been What's Out. Peace out, everybody.